it's just very inspirational to see a group of young people dynamically involved, acting on their beliefs.
It's super sad seeing how we're hurting our community, and I really want everything to be, better.
I've learned about the impact of plastic and how it affects the environment.
So this project is called Arts and Environmental Action, and it's bringing together both the legacy of Walter Anderson and the creative potential of students and applying that to a real-world issue, in this case, coastal microplastics, and on their campus, the use of single-use styrofoam, plastic utensils, and so students are using art forms, filmmaking, multimedia work to try to change the practices in their own school and to advocate for a cleaner and healthier ecosystem.
I think our purpose is to sort of spread an awareness about nature, about how we need to take better care of it, about how we can kind of coexist. We aren't completely divorced from nature. We are kind of sort of part of it. We originate from it. And as a result, we gotta take care of it.
So we began this project thinking about how to work with students over more than a year, and that included excursions out into nature, really arming them to be citizen scientists. So we took them out to Deer Island, we kayaked to this barrier island here off of coastal Mississippi, we went into the woods and the trails near their school, into more of the bottomlands, the wetland areas, and so we started to think about how does plastic and the things that humans make and the things that humans produce and ultimately that they discard end up in our ecosystems. What does that do scientifically?
What we were hoping is that everybody would turn to using reusable water bottles and be able to use these water bottle stations instead of plastic water bottles.
When we think about scientific data and how to communicate that, it can often be intimidating to the average layperson.
At the very beginning of it, it seemed to be working really well, but now I see this re-emergence of the plastic bottles now. So
part of affecting change and communicating the realities of issues in our modern world is finding ways to communicate, meet people where they are, and move them to some sort of action.
And then we have our plastic bags that we keep our stuff in. All of our food comes plastic wrapped, right? So it's kind of just a normal thing for us. We don't really think about it. You get a package of single-use plastic utensils, right? So there's a fork, a spoon, and then the plastic wrapper. That's 3 items. The approximation was 1.8 million pieces of single-use plastic. We are collecting plastics that are used every day in our cafeteria that the students are kind of, I wouldn't say forced to use, but there's no choice. How would you feel if you did have a choice? If you had a choice to walk into a cafeteria that had silverware and dishes, does it matter now? Do you think that something can be done? They don't know anything other than using plastic because it seems like their entire world is made of plastic.
We knew that to do this, we'd need some expertise, and so this project, of course, leans on both artists, Anthony Thaxton, a filmmaker, Robin Whitfield, an artist naturalist.
Maybe we create something beautiful and pristine about nature and then hide it with something like plastic.
And they've joined us at several points in the project to help guide the students, arm them with creative tools, teach them how to make things, and then join them along the way to create either large-scale interpretive works or more longitudinal documentary films. We've also partnered with Plastic Free Gulf Coast, which is a program of Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Well, this project has been many years in the making, so it's exciting to see it coming together and to see the student involvement, because really this is about the students waking up their power, igniting their power to create change in their own school and their community, and personal change as well. I mean, they're teenagers, so they're going through a lot already, and then to be kind of at the mercy of adults that are forcing them to use plastic because of money. That makes me crazy, and I know it upsets the kids too. So it's good to see them having a way to express that in a positive way.
draw the space is the space between the trees. That's that famous quote by Walter Anderson. It's currently the space between things is what I look for.
Figure out how to prevent things overall by just putting all these ideas is honestly amazing. It's inspiring.
Beginning of this, I was a very big plastic user. Like I thought it made everything simple.
So far, we've made a collage. We are making a statement about the environment by putting different photos of plants and animals together.
As I worked on this, as I went through the magazines, did the collages, thought of it. Looks good. I started realizing there's so much plastic around my community. Like there's so much that's hurting the animals.
And we're going to have an exhibit, right? Are y'all going to have an exhibit?
Yes.
So I've been a part of this project, I guess, almost 3 years now, and I'm remote. I'm up in North Mississippi, so I'm just kind of stepping in occasionally, seeing what's going on. What struck me just from the beginning of this project is the collaborative nature of it between a museum, a school, a public high school, and not within that high school, we have a collaboration between an art class and a science class. And then we have a independent organization that's focusing on a plastic-free Gulf Coast also coming in. And so that's just fascinating to me that over 3 years, that collection of people have come together and continue to evolve this idea with this sincere effort of trying to raise people's awareness of our use of plastic.
The movement to eliminate plastic is finally becoming a little more mainstream. It's not about anything but normalizing a life without plastic. And so if we as adults can make that a reality and model that behavior, it allows the next generation to live a life without plastic.
And Plastic Free Gulf Coast, as the name alludes, is all about affecting change in this arena. And so they've helped us get out to Deer Island. We've been able to interface with their scientists and their researchers. And so it really is a beautiful intersection and collaboration across sector. And we believe at the museum that that's our role in certainly our own community, but that museums and art museums across the board should think about how their programs and their outreach initiatives can address something that means something important, that is compelling, that is salient to the communities that they serve.
We use it constantly. We wear it, we drink out of it, we eat off of it. It's in every part of when we go shopping, and there's no part of our lives that doesn't include plastic. We don't think twice about it. Even as we're using it and where it goes when we're done, it's almost an invisible substance.
It's amazing to see the students' eyes light up when they understand that they have the agency to create work, in this case to be the scientists behind the data and to do the heavy lifting. And so while we have experts, we know, I think as all of us living on Earth, that the next generation is the one that's going to push this along. And so the students have really showed up. It's about creating models for engagement, and the students here have really pushed this to a place that is actually affecting change and actually drawing attention to an issue that they care about.
When I was first introduced, they needed more bodies to get involved. This year we got the art club. Literally like 90% of our art club showed up today, and they're having a great time, they're enjoying it.
Students are working to create a collaborative mural with Robin Whitfield, one of our visiting artists.
So here we are looking at it through microscopes, and then my part of it where we're considering its use in art and then how we might help others become aware of it. That to me is the power of art.
Robin has a force behind her. She's a ball of energy when she walks into the room, and the ideas just keep coming and keep coming.
We can show people, we can help people see something that's right in front of them but they just never noticed before. We can reveal and uncover.
when we first started this program almost 3 years ago now. At that time, there were 1,300 students and about 115 faculty and staff members. And we calculated that if rather they would to save and just skip one day, just one day out of the week, every month for those 10 months, just one person would save 12,000 pieces of plastic from entering the ecosystem. And those kind of numbers, I can say those kind of numbers, but the students can't see those numbers. So the installation is a way of allowing them to quantify visually what that means.
It's been great. A very nice mix of laid back and focused, because she knows how to make her goals happen without the stress that comes with a lot of school projects, unfortunately. You know, everything can be very rigid. And we're doing some found objects and natural pigments today. The red clay we collected, all of this has been around our campus. We've got our dark dirt, so we had something to mix with our light dirt thing. It looks the same because it is technically the same dirt, but this was processed by crawfish. And so I thought that was super cool. So those little mounds that you see everywhere, that's what this is. They don't mind if we take this part because they're just getting it out of the way so they can make a hole to get down to the moisture. So we have our range from super dark to super light. We have our reds.
Ground that down into pigment that then could be made into paint. And so they're using that to create a mural that is essentially bringing together all of the things they've done throughout the year of study, and it will be a centerpiece of an exhibition and a film festival that we're going to unveil and present to the community here at the end of the project.
I think it's pretty cool to be working with natural pigments. I've never done it before, and I like the message we're trying to convey with the artwork to show how important caring about our environment and how greatly plastics impact the environment as well.
As an artist, I've had a lot of time to have a lot of ideas going around, but I've been thinking about these things my own self as a creative person for years, and how can, in my own practice, reduce the amounts of negative impact on the environment. And one of those things for me was watercolor, but I didn't want to necessarily go with watercolor for this project. I, as a collaborator, wanted the students to actually see and understand the materials, and that they, to try to connect our materials straight to the landscape, to make that deep connection for them in the process. So that's where it became, I guess for me, an obvious choice to use materials that we gather ourselves. And from there, we'll decide maybe where they'll go on each mural panel, and then actually that'll just set us up for tomorrow.
This has been nothing but a blessing. Collecting pigments this week was great fun. The students really responded to it, and it would be easy for them to shut down, but we had none of that happen. I mean, that's catching lightning in a bottle there.
And we're going to be laying them out in the sun to get them dry enough to process into smaller particles so that we can make some paint. The task was on the students and the art teacher to find the materials. I thought they did a great job in collecting materials only from the school campus. So that kind of narrowed the focus. That makes it powerful because the school campus has an amazing palette. Behind the school is this kind of wetland that's filled with these small streams and a bayou, and they've got some trails back there that they utilize. And so they have a lot to offer on the campus for materials.
Robin Whitfield is an artist that is heavily influenced by the environment. She's done many workshops to teach people how they can use natural pigments without plastic binders in them to make artwork that's more environmentally friendly.
If you were to go to the store, you would have a gazillion colors. But we have sort of the traditional palette that everyone's always used throughout human history. We kind of have these certain earth, iron-based colors. My role as the artist was to help students know what to do, how to, just the process. How does dirt become paint? Introduce them to the mortar and pestle. We ground down the pigments, sifted it to get all the roots and rocks and things out into a very fine powder. And then we, with no binder, just adding water, try to find a full range of values on a piece of paper. And that right there is really all you need to make a very engaging image. So we've got 5 main colors and at least 10 or 12 values. When you're working with a big group, it actually makes it easier just to have a few colors like that, and we are going to be linking them directly to where they came from as a part of the mural's interpretation.
The plastic covering up the facts,
Yeah.
and then as you take off the plastic and put it into the human, the facts get uncovered. Because we don't see it until it hurts us.
Right.
I feel like that's what a lot of this is about, is just taking our ideas, our preconceptions, and like visualizing that.
My hope for this project is kind of, there's 2 parts to that. There's the people working on the project directly, and there's of course the people who will be made aware of issues through this project by it being on display in the hall. So for the people working on this project, this is, since it's been over an expanse of time, some of the students have changed, but the collaborators have kind of stayed the same. For me, this is about the people, the ones working on it. Of course, their awareness of this plastic-free is much deeper. They've looked under microscopes. They've gone into deep thinking about it. But as far as art making is concerned, I like anyone and all people to realize that they are all creators and that they all can contribute to something. Yeah, there you go. Y'all might want to make a list of all the different things. When you're working on a collaborative project, ideas are more fluid, and that's really the truth of all art. All ideas are fluid, and they can change mid-project. And so my hope is that I have created sort of a foundation on this project that will allow ideas to continue to develop even up to the last minute when they're installing it. That it allows it to be a powerful message to those seeing it. And yesterday too, as a group, we decided that we were going to kind of have these 3 panels. One would represent Old Fort Bayou, one East Beach, and one Deer Island. As an artist, my gut is to make our pelican be the one and only really bold image and make sure people understand that it's the life on Earth that's being affected. So we don't want to distract them with too many details. It's just fun to watch something change and to have every single person be a collaborator and artist in the process. This pelican's hunting. He's about to grab something out of this water. Is it going to be a plastic 6-pack ring? Is it going to be a plastic bottle? Or is it going to be a shrimp? So all this plastic will be covered, these kind of curtains of plastic. The viewer will be invited to remove plastic and then take that removed plastic and add it to another image. And I think right now we're going with possibly a human form and putting it inside the body of a human. Trying to make this connection that just because all this plastic breaks down into small pieces that ultimately end up in our body, to try to really help people maybe make some necessary changes.
I'm just hoping that people can keep a better mind of what's going on, being able to see the world around them and how it will not only affect them, but their ecosystems, their surroundings. What is going to happen to the plants of your neighborhood, the food supply, things like that, the oceans. We don't live away from that. That's something that we have to experience constantly and will constantly affect us no matter what.
A lot of the students are interested in science and environmentalism and art, but we've also been able to use this project to draw in kids that might not have been aware of or didn't know much about the use of plastics and its detriment to our environment.
It's our duty to do our best to try and sort of keep it in this balance, this harmony.
So the teachers and the administrations at St. Martin have been very receptive to our project and very supportive. A lot of students at the school have had their hands in on the project and will have contributed to the final pieces.
I'm not an artist. What really brought me out here was the project itself.
I think it's great that students who may not feel as artistic or may not have as much experience as other students in the artistic aspect, I think it's a good thing for them to be a part of it because it can maybe teach them more about the artistic aspect of it and how different parts of it work to bring it together.
It really kind of affected me because every day I always be seeing people using plastic and always throwing it out. And seeing these people like making like trying to like have an effort and trying to like put a stop to it really like made me like interested.
If it was an ideal world, my cafeteria would be cooking their food and people would be washing dishes and we would be having water in washable cups and things like that. But of course that's an ideal world.
Miss Banks she's been talking about the project for quite a while now, so I was like interested in it. For me, it's like there's trash all over the place every day, like in the cafeteria, and no one really picks it out. I got inspired too.
Yeah, we started this project to educate the children about eliminating the use of single-use plastics, but I've learned way more than I knew before. I've really learned a lot about what microplastics do, and also that with recycling, it's good to recycle, but that puts the burden on the consumer. And if we stopped using plastics, the manufacturers would have to go to some other use. So that the big goal would be to eliminate single-use plastics from the economy.
The power of art, of course, is to communicate, and the visual imagery is very powerful because it, in a very small frame or in a distilled artwork, can communicate many things. We, of course, know the cliche that a picture is 1,000 words. Well, that is, of course, grounded in this underlying truth that Walter Anderson embodied.
The artist's secret power, Daddy knew. The artist's secret power is the power of perspective. Perspective is an incredible power. It determines both what you see and what you are able to see. The best way to save nature is to love nature. We need to take our children on canoe trips. We need to take our children to the beach. We need to take our children to the island. We need to take our children sailing so that our children will learn to love nature. And fear will never save nature. Love will save nature. Fear won't save nature.
The other core piece of this is the museum itself. And what we think about at the museum a lot is how art can be activated. And so this is a way that the artwork on the walls is only a starting point. And that is something that I think Walter Anderson, were he here today, would understand and would appreciate.
It's been a blessing working on this project. We've met the most interesting people through it, and it's a good cause. It needs to be championed.
I hope more students will pay attention to their trash and maybe pick it up more, even if they didn't drop it themselves.
I hope overall that people will get an idea of just trying to prevent themselves from doing things that are harmful.
My hope is that when the students go away from this, that this is something that they'll retain in their own lives moving forward, and they'll be able to teach other generations, and also that we will be able to replicate this in other schools and communities.
People don't think about it until it hurts them, until they look at it at a picture. Like, I used to be that kind of person. I'm hoping we're gonna take better care of St. Martin. Please pick up after yourself. Don't litter, it's not cool.
Save the turtles.
To realize alternate energy sources and alternate uses instead of just going to plastic is going to open up a tremendous amount of jobs that we've never seen on the coast. We're pulling from all different aspects of our society to make the future a better place, and I really think we can make it happen.
They can make a difference. I think that they don't believe that they can because the issue is so large. But if they can see that this handful of students did this, then they get 2 or 3 more handfuls, 4, 5, 6 more handfuls, then it can create a much larger impact.
I have learned through this that our youth are still interested in making the world a better place, and they're willing to put their energy into making that happen, making it a realization.
I think my hope for this project is that everyone involved at least becomes aware of what materials things are made of and where those materials might go after they are no longer using them.
I think it'll be good for the community. It'll help educate people about plastic use, and hopefully it will make some changes.
Well, we hope that the students will carry this forward with them and educate other people and even their children and their children's children so that it gives hope for a better future.
Well, my hopes are that the kids realize that they can take action even if it seems like they are up against the Goliath, and they can take action in a peaceful, positive way that allows people to critically think and ask questions. I don't think the school district realizes how much they're spending each year on stuff that goes immediately into the trash can.
I would love to drive down this street and see parents picking up trash off the side of the road, not just my students who have to listen to me bark at them all day long about picking up trash and recyclables, but actually see their parents doing it, without them being next to them. Actually hearing someone say, hey, that's not trash, that's recyclable.
Good morning. This PSA, it's about you. Microplastics are an endocrine disruptor shown to cause reproductive issues, increased cancer risk, cognitive delays. In a study published in 2020, microplastics were found in 6 women's placentas. Microplastics crossing the blood-brain barrier and entering their unborn babies.
Microplastics in my unborn baby?
Yes, that's what I said. Next time you go to grab that single-use plastic utensil bundle at breakfast and lunch, think about your children. Just bring your own spoon.